Aaron's been traveling and making films throughout Africa since he was in high school. At 23, he's settled in Joburg, finding a number of ways to recognize and celebrate African design.
Why did you decide to study African art history?
I went to Columbia University in New York and sort of started learning more about it from an academic perspective and got hooked. And then I actually came to WITS for a year and studied African literature. And that's when I started meeting designers in South Africa. And a lot of them had amazing products that I thought needed exposure in the United States. And that's when I started a company called African Lookbook, selling those products in the United States.
Okay, cool, let's take a look.
Awesome. The website started in 2012, and we started with about 30 South African designers. There's books, fashion, interior design products. It's been really interesting to see that people all over the world, they see the goods as standing up to the same kinds of products that they see coming out of Japan or Paris or Italy. African design is at this place that it really can stand with products from anywhere in the world.
His biggest thrill has been as founding director of the Museum of African Design in Maboneng, where the latest exhibition is titled 21 Icons, a series of portraits by filmmaker and photographer Adrian Stern.
This was one of the last portraits ever taken of Nelson Mandela, and it sold for the record price of any photo in South Africa, 2.2 million rand. And so all of these portraits in the museum we're using as a learning tool for students and school groups to look at what it means to be an upstander in society. This is our sort of take on 20 years of democracy. It's funny because a lot of people ask me, why would an American open a museum in Africa?
Yeah.
It's easier to follow what's going on in the African art scene from New York, London, Paris, other places outside of Africa, because African artists don't think about coming to Johannesburg to exhibit their work. They think about going to a museum exhibition or a gallery show in one of these cities around the world. And so that's the point of the Museum of African Design, is to encourage all of these artists that don't think about South Africa to come to Johannesburg.
Now, since you've been in Africa, what has Africa taught you?
I think it's taught me that things can always exceed my expectation. And I'm really excited to be here.
His nearby studio apartment is a niche of contemporary South African design. Aaron insists the lesson in a small space is to be selective about exactly what has a purpose.
You've got some really cool design elements in here. Like, I see you've got this bookshelf from a stepladder.
Yeah, I mean, to utilize a small space, you really have to be sort of smart about storage. And you'll sort of see throughout that I've tried to balance function with design.
Okay.
And most of the design is local. So this is an old vintage South African chair that was reupholstered. And here you'll see more storage. This is sort of like a hotel rail, but I don't have any space for cupboards. So it not only sections off sort of the bed from the other part of the room, but it also is a functional storage place.
One thing I haven't seen is the bathroom. Where is it?
It's right back there.
But like an outhouse?
Kind of,
okay,
but much cooler.
Okay, come, let's check this out. Oh wow, I see you even got a map of Africa in here. It's almost like you got some African blood in you.
Yeah, it's an old colonial map that I found.
And the kitchen is very cool, man.
I've taken this old workbench and painted it red, and then I did add this cutting board, which you can slot in here or remove for cleaning. This furniture is a mix of Cape Town and Joburg. And just above it, I've taken
is that a shoe rack?
Yeah, I've taken a shoe rack and used it just for normal storage purposes.
So it's almost like you've recycled stuff to make it work for you.
Well, that's kind of the Maboneng vibe. And luckily, the balcony is one of the biggest parts of the apartment.
Okay.
Let's go check it out.
I love the decor that you've done here, man.
It's sort of a chill environment, and we fabricated this planter.
Don't tell me you made this as well.
Yeah, I did. Luckily, I had some help from someone with a green thumb. But by far, the best part of being out here is getting to see the city.
He's moved 8 times in the last 5 years, and this is the longest he's been in one apartment. Enough said.